All right, Stock Explorers, welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah,
So today, we are going to be diving deep into Docusign.
very good.
Probably familiar with the name,
Yeah.
really a leader in electronic signatures and, all things digital transaction management.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of pioneers in that space. I think everybody has probably used their product at this point.
Right. And, it's really become the standard, the go-to way that agreements are handled across just countless industries.
It's amazing how quickly they've kind of taken over that space, too.
Yeah, it's so much speed and efficiency and security and just convenience.
Yeah, you don't have to print out 15 pages and sign them and scan them and send them back.
I
It's
know.
like the opposite of convenience.
Right. Yeah. And so, we've done our homework here,
Yeah.
right? We've assembled a really comprehensive view of DocuSign.
Hmm.
We're going to be looking at their platform, how they got to where they are today, really taking a deep dive into their financials,
Yeah.
and then kind of looking ahead and trying to see where they're going.
I love it. I think it's really interesting just the way they've kind of become this dominant force, and then they're still looking to the future and innovating.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for this.
Right. So, today we're going to focus on a few key areas.
Yeah.
We're going to really take a look at this intelligent agreement management platform that they're calling IAM.
Right.
We'll also talk about the competitive landscape, some of the challenges that they face,
Sure.
how they plan to grow, who their key customers are. Of course, we'll look at the financials in detail,
Mm-hmm.
and then, this interesting speculation around a potential acquisition. So
All right. Sounds good.
let's unpack this thing, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Starting with IAM.
Okay. So this IAM thing, it's an AI-powered platform, right?
Okay.
It's really designed to take how businesses handle agreements to a whole new level. Right.
So-
They've been doing it for a while now. And now they're saying, let's up the game here.
Okay.
And they're using AI to make it even better. What's really interesting about this is that it's not just like regular AI. They're actually using generative AI to create content.
Oh, wow.
Like it can help you draft stuff. It can summarize things. It's not just analyzing, it's actually creating.
Okay, so this isn't just like a buzzword. This is like real AI.
Yeah, this is the real deal.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's their fastest growing product should tell you something.
Okay, I'm interested. Give me some examples of what it can actually do.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, for example, it can do this thing called AI-assisted data extraction.
Okay.
So think about like, a company has tons of contracts, right? Hundreds, thousands maybe.
Yeah.
And they need to pull out key information like, payment terms, renewal dates, all that stuff.
Right.
This feature can do it automatically.
Wow.
Like it just scans through everything and pulls out all the important bits.
So that saves so much time.
Oh, yeah. It's a huge time saver.
Okay.
And it means that you don't have people like manually going through all these documents trying to find stuff. Like it turns all those documents into data that you can actually use.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else can it do?
Okay, so then you've got generative AI,
Kyle.
which is pretty cool. They've got these things called agreement language models or ALMs.
Okay.
And they're basically trained on tons of data, like, all the agreements that Docusign has.
Okay.
And they can use that data to summarize really complex documents or even help you draft new agreements.
Oh, wow.
So, like, imagine you've got this huge legal document, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to read the whole thing, but you need a summary.
Right.
Boom, it does it in seconds.
Okay.
That's got to be a game changer for, like, legal teams and procurement folks.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Right. And then it can also do risk assessment.
Okay, what's that?
So it can look at the language in an agreement and flag anything that looks risky.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like having this AI watchdog that's looking out for you.
Okay. Like spotting potential problems before they happen.
Exactly, yeah. Like maybe there's a clause in there that's not in your favor or something.
Right.
And it can flag that for you so you can address it.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then there's natural language processing, or NLP,
Okay.
which powers this cool feature called Docusign Navigator,
I see.
which basically lets you search through all your agreements in a really smart way.
Okay.
Like instead of just searching for keywords, it can understand concepts.
Okay, so like how does that work in practice?
So like say you're looking for something about like, a breach of contract.
Okay.
Instead of just searching for that exact phrase, you could search for something like agreement violation, and it would still find the relevant documents because it understands the concept.
Oh, that's really cool. So it's like it's understanding the meaning, not just the words.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes it so much easier to find what you're looking for.
Okay. I'm impressed.
Well-
Keep going. What else?
Right, so it also has this really cool feature for reviewing and negotiating agreements.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it can actually automate the initial review process.
Really?
Yeah, like it checks for compliance with all your standards and stuff.
Okay.
And then it can even suggest edits during negotiations.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so like think about all the back and forth that usually happens with redlining documents.
Yeah.
This can streamline that whole process.
And save a ton of time, I bet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like having an AI assistant that's helping you negotiate.
All right, so we've got all this automation, but what about security? With all these digital documents flying around.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for that, they have AI-powered identity verification,
Okay.
which basically makes sure that the people signing the documents are who they say they are.
Okay.
Especially important with all the remote transactions happening these days.
Right. Makes sense.
And then just to make things easier, they've got agreement summarization,
Okay.
which basically gives you like a short overview of a really long agreement.
Okay.
So you can quickly understand the key points without having to read through the whole thing.
It's pretty useful.
Yeah, it's like the TLDR of contracts.
Right. Okay.
So it's really designed to make everything more efficient and secure.
Yeah, it sounds like, so this IAM thing, it's not just a standalone product, right?
Right.
It's got to connect with all the other systems that businesses are using.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's all about integration. So through this thing called the Docusign App Center,
Okay.
it can connect with all sorts of other business systems.
Okay, like what kind of systems?
Oh, your CRMs, like Salesforce,
Okay.
ERPs for enterprise resource planning,
Uh-huh.
even HCM tools for human capital management.
So it's like this central hub for agreements.
Yeah, exactly. It's like all your agreement data can flow seamlessly across the whole organization.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it breaks down those silos and makes everything much more efficient.
Okay, so let's say I'm a business and I'm thinking about implementing this,
Okay.
but my team's not super technical.
Hmm.
We don't have a bunch of coders on staff.
Gotcha.
Is this something we could actually handle?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They've made it really user-friendly.
Okay.
It's got a no-code environment for creating workflows.
So it's like I can just drag and drop stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. It's really intuitive.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know. And then I guess businesses have different needs, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it's not like one size fits all.
Right. So they've got these modular applications that are tailored for specific functions.
Okay, give me an example.
So like they've got IMM for sales
Okay.
and IMM for customer experience.
I see.
So you can kind of pick and choose what you need based on your priorities.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's all about flexibility.
All right, so we've talked a lot about IAM and what it can do, but there are other agreement management solutions out there,
Uh-huh.
right? So what makes IAM stand out?
Mm-hmm.
What's their competitive edge?
Okay, so there are a few key things that really set them apart.
Okay, I'm listening.
First off, their AI is just more advanced.
Okay.
Like it's not just basic stuff. It can give you really deep insights and analysis.
Okay.
That's something you don't always see with the competition.
So it's like they're using AI to give you actionable intelligence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just about automating tasks. It's about giving you insights that can help you make better decisions.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then their workflow designer is also really powerful.
Okay.
Like it's not just drag and drop. It's got some serious automation capabilities.
Oh, I see.
So you can create really sophisticated workflows that are tailored to your specific needs.
Wow, that sounds impressive.
Yeah. And then they've got incredible integration capabilities.
Okay.
Through that app center we talked about, they can connect with a huge range of CRM and ERP systems.
Okay.
So it's not like you're stuck with just a few limited options.
So it's like it plays well with others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about seamless connectivity.
Yeah. What else?
And then they have those industry-specific modules that we mentioned before,
Yeah.
like IAM for sales and customer experience.
Yeah.
Those are a big differentiator because they're really focused on specific business needs,
Okay.
unlike a lot of those general CLM platforms.
Okay, so they're going deep, not just broad.
Right. Yeah. They're not trying to be everything to everyone.
Okay, I like that.
And then finally, they have this really intelligent, centralized repository.
Yeah.
It's not just a place to store agreements. It's actually designed to unlock all the data that's hidden in those agreements and use that data to give you even more insights.
Wow, so it's like they're mining their agreements for gold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about extracting value from that data.
Okay, so we've talked about their strengths, but what about potential threats?
Right.
Like you've got these really powerful general-purpose AI services out there now, like OpenAI.
Yeah.
Could that be a problem for a specialized platform like IAM?
It's a fair question, right? But I think IAM has a few things going for it.
Okay, tell me.
So first off, it's purpose-built for agreement management.
Okay.
Like their whole architecture, their AI models, everything is designed specifically for agreements.
I see.
So it's not like you're trying to adapt a general AI service to do something it wasn't really meant to do.
So it's like it's got a laser focus.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not trying to be everything. It's trying to be the best at agreement management. Okay.
I like that.
And then it's also an end-to-end solution.
Okay.
So you don't have to cobble together a bunch of different tools and services.
Right, it's all there.
Yeah, it's all integrated and ready to go.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And then those industry-specific applications that we talked about,
Right.
they make it even easier to deploy because they're already tailored to your needs.
So it's plug and play.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, and then what about security and compliance?
Yeah.
Those are pretty critical for agreements.
Absolutely. And that's another area where IAM has an advantage
Okay.
because it's built with those things in mind.
I see.
Like it's got specific measures in place to ensure security and compliance,
Okay.
which is something you wouldn't necessarily get with a general AI platform.
Right. And then the advanced AI features within IAM, like Navigator and risk assessment,
Yeah.
those are specifically designed for agreements, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they've been trained on tons of agreement data. So they can provide a level of sophistication that a general AI model just couldn't match.
Okay, so it's like they've got a secret weapon.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
And then there's the no-code workflow automation,
Right.
which again is designed specifically for agreement processes.
I see.
So it's really tailored to the nuances of how agreements work.
Okay, so it sounds like they're pretty well positioned to fend off any threats from general AI.
Yeah, I think so. They've got a lot of advantages.
All right, so looking ahead, how does Docusign see IAM contributing to their future growth?
So right now, IAM is their fastest growing product.
Oh.
And they're expecting it to contribute, low double-digit percentages to their overall growth by late fiscal year 2025 and into the fourth quarter of fiscal 2026.
Wow, that's significant.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So what's the strategy? How do they plan to achieve that growth?
So their main focus is on getting more large enterprise clients to adopt IAM and also expanding into international markets.
Right. Makes sense.
They really believe that IAM can unlock a lot of value for businesses by making agreement management much more efficient.
Right.
And they're seeing a lot of interest from those big companies.
I bet. So when will we actually see the financial impact of all these IAM billings?
So that's an interesting point because a lot of these enterprise contracts are pretty long.
Okay.
So the real impact on their subscription revenue probably won't be fully realized until fiscal year 2027 and beyond.
Okay, so it's a bit of a long game.
Yeah, but they're playing for keeps.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about their customers now. Yeah, who's actually using Docusign?
Okay, so they've got a really diverse customer base.
Okay.
Like it's not just one industry or one type of organization.
Okay, give me the rundown.
Okay, so you've got Fortune 500 companies,
Okay.
government agencies,
Huh.
healthcare providers,
Okay.
real estate professionals.
So pretty much everyone.
Yeah, pretty much. It's amazing how widespread it is.
Right, and can you give me some specific examples of these big companies that are using Docusign?
Yeah, for sure. So you've got companies like JP Morgan Chase, Walmart, ExxonMobil.
Wow, huge companies.
Yeah, big names.
Okay.
Shell, another one.
All right, so that's a pretty impressive list.
And what's really interesting is that all of the top 15 Fortune 500 financial companies use Docusign.
Wow.
So like American Express.
Okay.
And even the state of Delaware for their official financial documents.
So they're really trusted in the financial sector.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what about government agencies?
Yeah, so in the government space, you've got organizations like the state of California
Okay.
and the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs using Docusign.
Wow, so it's not just the private sector.
Nope, they're in the public sector too.
Okay, and what about healthcare?
So healthcare is another big one for them.
Okay.
14 of the top 15 Fortune 500 healthcare companies rely on their platform.
Wow, so they're really well established in that space.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then real estate, we talked about them having a strong presence there.
Yep, over 269 companies in that sector are using Docusign.
Wow, so it's not just for big businesses, right?
No, not at all.
Okay.
They also have a lot of small and medium-sized businesses using their platform,
I see.
especially those with like 50 to 200 employees or revenues between $10 million and $50 million.
Okay, so they've really got a broad reach.
Yeah, they do.
And geographically, are they mostly in the U.S. or are they international?
So most of their customers are in the U.S.,
Okay.
but they've got a significant presence in the UK and Canada too.
Okay.
And overall, they serve over 1 million customers in 180 countries.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, they're definitely a global player.
All right, so let's talk numbers now.
Okay,
Let's dive into their latest financial performance.
that's good.
So they recently released their results for the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2025.
Yeah.
What were the key highlights?
Okay, so the fourth quarter of fiscal 2025 was a pretty strong one for them.
Okay.
They reported revenue of $776 million,
Okay.
which is a 9% increase from the year before.
Okay, so solid growth.
Yeah, and actually it beat analyst expectations.
Wow, wow. So they're exceeding expectations.
Yep, which is always a good sign.
All right, so what about their subscription revenue? That's really important for software as a service companies.
Right, so that also grew by 9%,
Okay.
reaching $758 million.
Okay, so healthy growth there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And billings are also a good indicator of future revenue, right?
Exactly. Yeah, billings basically tell you how much new business they've booked.
Okay.
And their billings for the quarter were $923 million,
Right.
which is an 11% increase year over year.
Wow, so that's really strong growth.
Yeah, it's a good sign that demand is still strong.
Okay, so what about profitability? How did they do on that front?
So their non-GAAP operating margin showed a big improvement,
Okay.
reaching 29%.
Wow, so they're getting more efficient.
Yeah, they're doing a good job of managing costs.
Okay. And what about earnings per share?
So their GAAP earnings per share were $0.39, and their non-GAAP earnings per share were $0.86,
Okay.
which beat forecasts.
So they're profitable and they're beating earnings estimates.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay. And what about cash flow?
So they generated $280 million in free cash flow,
Okay.
which is a 36% margin.
Wow. So they're generating a lot of cash.
Yeah, which gives them a lot of flexibility.
Okay, so that's a really strong quarter for them.
Yeah, they definitely had a good one.
And how did the full fiscal year 2025 look?
Oh, so for the full year, they also had a good performance.
Okay.
Total revenue was $3 billion,
Okay.
which is an 8% increase year over year.
So solid growth again?
Yep.
Okay, and billings?
Billings for the full year grew by 7%.
Okay, so still positive growth.
Yep.
All right. And their non-GAAP operating margin?
That was 30% for the full year.
Okay, so consistent profitability and free cash flow.
They generated $920 million in free cash flow for the full year.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's a lot of cash.
Okay, so financially, they seem to be in really good shape.
Yeah, they're doing well.
So beyond the numbers, were there any other notable achievements strategically or operationally?
Yeah, there were a few things worth highlighting.
Okay, I'm listening.
So first off, the rapid adoption of their IAM platform was a big win.
Okay.
It's really gaining traction in the market.
Right.
And they also grew their total customer count by 10% year over year.
Wow, so they're adding a lot of new customers.
Yeah, they're doing a good job of acquiring new business.
Okay, and what about customer retention?
So their dollar net retention rate was 101%,
Okay.
which is the highest it's been in 6 quarters.
Wow. So their customers are sticking around and spending more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a good sign that they're keeping their customers happy.
All right, and their gross margins?
Those stayed strong above 80% on a non-GAAP basis.
Okay, so still very profitable?
Yeah.
And they expanded their operating margin as well.
Yeah, they're becoming more efficient.
Okay, so it sounds like they're firing on all cylinders.
Pretty much, yeah.
And how did the market react to all this good news?
So the market liked what they saw. Their stock price went up after the earnings release.
Okay, so investors are bullish.
Yeah, it seems like they're confident in Docusign's future.
All right, so we talked about that big increase in their profit margin.
Yeah.
What were the main drivers behind that?
Okay, so there are a few things that contributed to that.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So first off, the launch of IAM and the fact that it's getting adopted so quickly,
Right.
that's definitely helped boost their profitability
Okay.
because it's driving new customer acquisition and also upselling opportunities.
Right, so it's a win-win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
And then the improvement in their dollar net retention rate.
Right.
That also means they're getting more value out of their existing customers.
Okay, so they're not just churning through customers.
Nope, they're keeping them happy and spending more.
All right, so that's good.
And they've also been really focused on operational efficiency and cost management.
Okay, like what specifically have they done?
So they've reduced their stock-based compensation expenses.
And they've also been optimizing their cloud infrastructure
I see.
by migrating to more efficient platforms.
So they're really tightening their belts.
Yeah, they're making sure they're not wasting money.
Okay, and then we talked about those higher value customer segments.
Right.
Those are the ones spending over $300,000 annually.
Yeah, so they've seen growth in that segment,
Okay.
which obviously helps with profitability.
Right, because they're bringing in more revenue per customer,
Exactly.
and their free cash flow generation has been strong,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is always a good sign.
Yeah.
And then they've also initiated a share repurchase program,
Right.
which can also boost earnings per share.
Yeah, it's a way to return value to shareholders.
Okay, so it sounds like they're doing everything right.
Pretty much. Yeah, they're firing on all cylinders.
All right, so looking ahead to fiscal year 2026, what's their revenue growth looking like?
So they're projecting revenue in the range of $3.129 billion to $3.141 billion,
Okay.
which is about a 5% year-over-year growth rate.
Okay, so still positive growth, but maybe a bit slower than previous years.
Yeah, it's a bit more modest, but still respectable.
All right, so let's shift gears and talk about their market position.
Mhm.
They've been a leader in the e-signature space for a while now.
Right.
What's their market share looking like?
So right now they have a dominant 67% market share.
Wow, so they're really the big dog.
Yeah, they're the leader by a significant margin.
Okay, so who's trying to eat their lunch?
Yeah.
Who are their main competitors?
So the rest of the market is pretty fragmented,
Okay,
but the main players are Adobe Sign and HelloSign, which is owned by Dropbox.
okay, so those are some big names too.
Yeah, they're not slouches, but they're still behind Docusign.
So what's allowed Docusign to stay ahead of the pack? What's their secret sauce?
So there are a few things that have really helped them maintain their leadership.
Okay, I'm listening.
First off, their constant innovation. They're always coming out with new products and features.
Right.
Like IAM is a perfect example of that.
Okay, so they're not resting on their laurels.
Nope, they're always pushing the envelope.
And then their global reach.
Yeah, they're in over 180 countries.
Wow.
So they've got a huge footprint.
Right.
And that gives them a big advantage in terms of scale and brand recognition.
Okay, so they're everywhere.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then customer trust.
Yeah, they've got a really loyal customer base.
Okay.
And that's because they deliver a great product and they provide excellent service.
Right, so they built a strong reputation.
Exactly. Yeah, people trust them.
Okay, so we talked about their revenue growth being around 5% for this year.
Uh-huh.
What about the overall market? Is the digital document management and e-signature market growing at a similar pace?
So the core e-signature market might be growing a bit slower,
Okay.
but the broader agreement management market, which is where IAM plays,
Right.
that's a $50 billion market.
Wow.
And it's growing faster.
Okay, so there's still a lot of room for growth.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And what about DocuSign's plans? How do they plan to capitalize on that growth?
So their focus is on expanding globally
Okay.
and continuing to innovate with AI-powered solutions.
So they're playing the long game.
Yeah, they're thinking big.
Right, right. Okay, so last but not least, let's talk about this potential acquisition.
All right.
There have been reports that DocuSign is exploring a sale.
Yep.
And that's generated a lot of interest.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
So who are the potential buyers?
Okay, so there are a few different types of buyers that have been mentioned. So
Yep.
first, you've got private equity firms
Okay.
like Bain Capital and Hellman and Friedman.
Okay.
They're reportedly the front runners right now.
I see.
And then you've got major tech companies.
Okay, like who?
So names like Microsoft, Amazon, and Oracle have been thrown around.
Wow, so some really big players.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So what's driving all this interest in DocuSign? Why do these companies want to buy them?
So there are a few reasons.
Okay.
So first off, DocuSign themselves are reportedly considering a leveraged buyout.
Okay, so they're open to the idea.
Yeah, it seems like they're at least exploring the possibility.
Okay, and then their growth has slowed down a bit.
Yeah, it's not as high as it was during the pandemic.
Right.
But it's still positive.
Okay.
And they've also done some restructuring recently,
Okay.
which might make them a more attractive target for a buyer.
I see.
And then their IAM platform, that's
Yeah.
a really valuable asset,
Okay.
especially for those big tech companies that are looking to expand their cloud offerings.
So it's a strategic fit.
Exactly.
Okay. And then, of course, DocuSign is the market leader.
Right.
So that's a big draw for any buyer.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be number two.
Right. So it sounds like there are a lot of reasons why someone might want to buy them, but are there any obstacles to a deal happening?
Yeah, there are a few challenges.
Okay, tell me.
So first off, the e-signature market is already pretty competitive.
Right.
So even if you buy DocuSign, you're not guaranteed to dominate the market.
Okay, so it's not a slam dunk.
Nope.
Okay, what else?
And DocuSign has a pretty hefty valuation.
Okay, how much are we talking?
Their market cap is around $11 billion.
Wow. So it's not going to be a cheap acquisition.
Nope. It's going to be a big check.
Okay, and then what about the management team? Are they on board with the sale?
So there have been reports that the CEO would prefer to stay independent.
Okay, so that could be a hurdle.
Yeah, it could definitely complicate things.
All right, so given all that,
Mhm.
what do you think is the likelihood of a deal actually happening?
So it's hard to say for sure, but right now it seems like the private equity firms are the most likely buyers.
Oh, right.
But a strategic buyer is still possible.
I see.
The big question is whether they can agree on a price
Right.
and whether the Docusign management team is willing to sell.
Okay, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
All right, so that was a really insightful deep dive into DocuSign.
Yeah.
It's clear that they're evolving beyond just e-signatures with this IAM platform.
Hmm.
Their financials are strong.
Yep.
They're the market leader,
Right.
and their future is full of possibilities.
Absolutely.
This potential acquisition just adds another layer